We like to believe that we are the authors of our own lives. From the mundane choices of what to eat for breakfast to the life-altering decisions that define our identities, we cling to the comforting notion that our minds guide us with clarity and intention. But what if this sense of control is nothing more than an illusion? What if the choices we believe are ours are, in fact, shaped by forces we scarcely comprehend? Forces that operate in the shadows, invisible yet omnipresent. This question is not new. For millennia, philosophers have wrestled with the nature of free will. The ancient Stoics pondered whether our lives were governed by fate or by our own volition. They believed that while we cannot control external events, we can control our responses to them, a notion that still resonates today. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This idea suggests a form of agency, but it also hints at the limits of our control. If our reactions are shaped by our upbringing, our environment, and our cognitive biases, how free are we really? Centuries later, thinkers like René Descartes and Immanuel Kant grappled with the tension between determinism and free will. Descartes argued that the mind and body are separate, with the mind possessing the freedom to make choices independent of physical constraints. Kant, on the other hand, introduced the concept of moral autonomy, suggesting that our ability to reason and make ethical decisions is evidence of free will. Yet, as we navigate the complexities of the modern world, a more unsettling possibility emerges. What if our freedom is not a burden, but a mirage? What if the very idea of free will is a carefully constructed illusion, perpetuated by forces that thrive on our ignorance? At the heart of this dilemma lies a paradox. We pride ourselves on our rationality, our ability to analyze, reflect, and make decisions based on logic. It is this capacity, we believe, that sets us apart from the rest of the animal kingdom. But what if this rationality is also our Achilles heel? What if the very mechanisms that allow us to navigate the world, our cognitive shortcuts, our biases, our reliance on patterns, are the same tools that make us vulnerable to manipulation? Consider the phenomenon of subliminal messaging. In the mid-20th century, marketers began experimenting with hidden cues. Flashes of images, whispers of words, too brief or faint to register in our conscious minds. At the time, the idea seemed like science fiction. Further experiments soon revealed a startling truth. These invisible stimuli could influence our preferences, our desires, even our behavior. In one famous study, researchers flashed the words, "Drink Coca-Cola and eat popcorn" on a movie screen for just a fraction of a second. Though the audience was unaware of the messages, sales of both products reportedly spiked. We might believe we are choosing a product, a candidate, or a lifestyle of our own free will, but beneath the surface, our decisions are being quietly steered by forces we cannot see. This is not merely a relic of the past. In the digital age, the tools of manipulation have grown more sophisticated and more pervasive. Algorithms, the invisible architects of our online experience, quietly shape the content we see, the information we consume, and the choices we make. Every click, every scroll, every interaction is monitored, analyzed, and used to predict our next move. We believe we are choosing what to watch, what to read, what to buy. But in reality, we are being guided by a system designed to exploit our cognitive vulnerabilities, to keep us engaged, and to maximize profit, often at the expense of our autonomy. The philosopher Michel Foucault once described power not as a force imposed from above, but as something woven into the fabric of society. It operates not through coercion, but through persuasion. It is invisible, insidious, and incredibly effective. In the age of technology, this power has taken on new forms. The algorithms that curate our social media feeds, the advertisements that target our deepest desires, the political narratives that shape our beliefs, these are the modern-day manifestations of Foucault's invisible power. We do not feel oppressed because we do not see the chains, but that does not mean the chains are not there. This raises an unsettling question. If we are being influenced without our knowledge, can we ever truly claim to be free? Freedom implies autonomy, the ability to act according to our own will. But if that will is constantly being shaped by forces beyond our awareness, then what does freedom really mean? This question becomes even more profound when we consider the evolutionary roots of our behavior. Evolution did not design us to see the world as it truly is, it designed us to survive. Our brains are finely tuned to detect threats, to seek out opportunities, to form social bonds that increase our chances of survival, but this survival-based wiring leaves us open to manipulation. Take, for example, the anchoring effect, a cognitive bias that causes us to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive. This bias evolved because it allowed our ancestors to make quick, life-saving decisions. But in the modern world, it means that marketers can influence our choices by presenting us with strategically chosen information, setting the terms of our decision before we even know we are making one. Similarly, the halo effect, our tendency to judge people or products based on superficial traits, once helped us navigate uncertain environments. Today it is exploited by advertisers and influencers who use appearance, charisma, or brand reputation to sway our decisions. These cognitive shortcuts were essential for survival in a hostile world. But in today's complex, interconnected society, they have become vulnerabilities, exploited by those who understand them better than we do. The more we believe we are acting freely, the more susceptible we are to manipulation. This is the cruel irony of our existence. Our greatest strength, our ability to make quick, efficient decisions, is also our greatest weakness. In the digital age, the tools of manipulation have evolved far beyond the crude experiments of subliminal messaging. Today, the algorithms that power our social media platforms, search engines, and online marketplaces are the new architects of our reality. These algorithms are not neutral. They are designed to capture our attention, to keep us engaged, and to maximize profit. Every time we scroll through a news feed, watch a video, or click on an ad, we are feeding data into a system that learns from our behavior, predicts our preferences, and shapes our choices. Take, for example, the recommendation algorithms used by platforms like YouTube and Netflix. These systems analyze vast amounts of data, our viewing history, our likes and dislikes, even the time we spend on each piece of content, to predict what we might want to watch next. On the surface, this seems convenient. But beneath the surface lies a more insidious truth. These algorithms are not designed to serve our interests. They are designed to keep us hooked. By exploiting our cognitive biases, our tendency to seek novelty, our susceptibility to emotional triggers, they create a feedback loop that reinforces our existing preferences and narrows our worldview. This phenomenon, known as filter bubbles or echo chambers, has profound implications for our autonomy. When we are only exposed to information that aligns with our beliefs, we become less likely to question our assumptions or consider alternative perspectives. Over time, our sense of reality becomes distorted, shaped not by objective truth but by the invisible hand of the algorithm. We might believe we are making informed decisions, but in reality, we are being guided down a path that has been carefully curated for us. The impact of algorithmic manipulation extends far beyond our entertainment choices. It shapes the way we consume news, form opinions, and engage with the world. In 2016, the role of algorithms in shaping political discourse came under scrutiny during the US presidential election. It was revealed that political operatives had used targeted advertising and data analytics to influence voter behavior, exploiting the algorithms of social media platforms to spread misinformation and sow division. This marked a turning point in our understanding of the power of algorithms, not just as tools of convenience, but as instruments of control. The philosopher Michel Foucault once described power as something that operates not through coercion, but through persuasion. It is embedded in the structures of society, in our institutions, our language, our daily routines. In the age of technology, this power has taken on new forms. The algorithms that shape our online experience are not imposed upon us by a dictator or a political leader. They are woven into the fabric of our digital lives, operating quietly in the background, shaping our choices without our awareness. If our decisions are so easily manipulated, if our autonomy is so fragile, then what can we do to reclaim our freedom? The philosopher Daniel Dennett offers a glimmer of hope. He argues that free will is not an all-or-nothing proposition. Even in a world shaped by external forces, we can still exercise a degree of agency, if we are aware of the forces at play. Awareness, then, becomes the first step toward reclaiming our autonomy. By understanding our cognitive biases, by questioning the algorithms that shape our reality, by recognizing the invisible power structures that influence our choices, we can begin to carve out a space for genuine freedom. But this is no easy task. The forces that shape our decisions are deeply entrenched, woven into the very fabric of our society. To challenge them requires not only individual vigilance, but collective action. It requires us to demand transparency from the platforms that curate our information, to advocate for regulations that protect our autonomy, and to cultivate a culture of critical thinking that empowers us to see beyond the illusions. One practical step is to educate ourselves about the mechanisms of manipulation. By learning how algorithms work, how cognitive biases operate, and how advertisers and politicians exploit these vulnerabilities, we can become more resistant to their influence. For example, understanding the anchoring effect can help us recognize when a price or a statistic is being used to manipulate our perception. Recognizing the halo effect can make us more skeptical of charismatic leaders or flashy advertisements. And being aware of filter bubbles can encourage us to seek out diverse perspectives and challenge our own assumptions. Another important step is to advocate for ethical design in technology. The algorithms that shape our online experience are not inherently evil. They are tools, and like any tool, they can be used for good or for ill. By pushing for greater transparency and accountability in the tech industry, we can ensure that these tools are designed to serve our interests rather than exploit them. This might include regulations that require platforms to disclose how their algorithms work, or that limit the use of targeted advertising and data collection. But even as we take these steps, we must also grapple with the philosophical question at the heart of this debate. Can free will coexist with determinism? Some philosophers, known as compatibilists, argue that it can. They suggest that even if our choices are influenced by external forces, we can still be free as long as we are acting according to our own desires and intentions. In this view, freedom is not about being free from all influences, but about being free to act in accordance with our own values and goals. This perspective offers a more nuanced understanding of autonomy. It acknowledges that we are shaped by our environment, our biology, and our experiences. But it also recognizes that we have the capacity to reflect on these influences and make choices that align with our own sense of purpose. In this sense, freedom is not an absolute state, but a continuous process of self-awareness and self-determination. Yet, even this more flexible definition of freedom raises difficult questions. If our desires and intentions are themselves shaped by external forces, how can we ever truly claim to be acting according to our own will? This is the paradox at the heart of the free will debate. The more we understand about the forces that shape us, the more we realize how little control we actually have. Perhaps the answer lies not in trying to achieve absolute freedom, but in embracing the complexity of our existence. We are not purely rational beings, nor are we purely determined. We are a mix of both, shaped by our biology and our environment, but also capable of reflection, growth, and change. Our freedom is not an illusion, but it is fragile. It requires constant vigilance, constant questioning, and a willingness to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world we live in. As we navigate the complexities of the modern world, the question of free will becomes not just a philosophical curiosity, but a deeply personal and profoundly practical concern. It challenges us to confront the fragility of our autonomy, to question the forces that shape our lives, and to strive for a world in which freedom is not an illusion, but a reality. Perhaps in this struggle we will find not only a deeper understanding of ourselves, but also a renewed sense of purpose, a commitment to shaping a world where freedom, in all its complexity, can truly flourish. The journey through the labyrinth of free will has taken us from the ancient Stoics to the digital algorithms of today, from the evolutionary roots of our cognitive biases to the invisible power structures that shape our choices. Along the way, we have seen how our greatest strengths, our rationality, our ability to make quick decisions, our capacity for pattern recognition, can also be our greatest vulnerabilities. We have explored how the tools of manipulation have evolved, from the crude experiments of subliminal messaging to the sophisticated algorithms that curate our online experience. And we have grappled with the unsettling possibility that our sense of control may be nothing more than an illusion, carefully constructed by forces we scarcely comprehend. Yet, amidst this uncertainty, there is hope. The philosopher Daniel Dennett reminds us that free will is not an all-or-nothing proposition. Even in a world shaped by external forces, we can still exercise a degree of agency if we are aware of the forces at play. Awareness, then, becomes the first step toward reclaiming our autonomy. By understanding our cognitive biases, by questioning the algorithms that shape our reality, by recognizing the invisible power structures that influence our choices, we can begin to carve out a space for genuine freedom. But this is no easy task. The forces that shape our decisions are deeply entrenched, woven into the very fabric of our society. To challenge them requires not only individual vigilance, but collective action. It requires us to demand transparency from the platforms that curate our information, to advocate for regulations that protect our autonomy, and to cultivate a culture of critical thinking that empowers us to see beyond the illusions. One practical step is to educate ourselves about the mechanisms of manipulation. By learning how algorithms work, how cognitive biases operate, and how advertisers and politicians exploit these vulnerabilities, we can become more resistant to their influence. In the end, the question of free will is not merely a philosophical abstraction. It is a deeply personal and profoundly practical concern. It challenges us to confront the fragility of our autonomy, to question the forces that shape our lives, and to strive for a world in which freedom is not an illusion but a reality. Perhaps in this struggle, we will find not only a deeper understanding of ourselves, but also a renewed sense of purpose, a commitment to shaping a world where freedom, in all its complexity, can truly flourish.